And Joe was bigger than God. He's 6'7", and took pictures with him. And just last year, I was at their house, and that picture, Joe, was still on his mantle. That's how much those things mean to young people. Thank you for that. And that didn't stop there. As I watched Joe's career progress, he just got it. He just understood his role as a tremendous athlete and spent time with young people and always took time to talk with children and kids after the games. I remember shortly after that, there was a very memorable game on my driveway after my daughter's graduation between Joe, a guy named Craig Cheeseman, who was some of you old timers remember that name from Hanson, Weston. We had a basketball game between Joe and Craig, and we're not sure who won that game, but you have to depend who you ask. Joe's a special kid. He came over to our house all the time. We would talk about anything and everything, from old-time stuff to how to tie a tie, all those things. And I recognized pretty quickly that this guy is something special. One of his teammates told me, you know what makes Joe incredibly different than others? He's the best player on the team, but you never know it the way he treats people. And that is so true. Joe went to DSU, and he had a tremendous career, which was noted already, all the records and the accomplishments that he had. Joe, could you stand up just real quick for me? Stand up. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. Joe's every bit of 6'7", or 6'7" and a half, Joe? Okay. Joe scored in his career 1,564 points. It's a lot of points. Led his team to maybe not the team accomplishments that we hoped, but he certainly was the guy who led his team through the victories they had and the accomplishments that, of course, that were there. He also had 1,000 points or so, maybe just short, Joe, in high school. So that's, by my math, that's 2,562 points. Guess how many of those points were dunks? Unbelievable as it sounds, yes. Go ahead and sit down, Joe. I'm not going to embarrass you anymore. I'll wrap up here because I'm supposed to have 3 to 5 minutes. I'm sure I've already gone past that. Joe's high school basketball coach, he could be here tonight. He's my son-in-law too. Was talking about Joe, and I said, Brent, how do you describe Joe the best you can? And here's how he described Joe. Joe is the most uniquely talented player I've ever coached, athletically as a person. And I would have to agree with that. Joe, stand up. Joe Backus, you're in the Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joe Backus.
Well, this is pretty cool. I'm super happy that the Lady T's are getting inducted as well the year 2006. So the reason that we had people at our games is because they were so good. They just stuck around for our games. So that part was nice. I did write something, and I appreciate all 6 of you for coming. So Mark kind of nailed a lot of it. I need to thank Mark, it says here. So thank you for that. He hit my folks already, so those guys are the pillars of my life. You guys know that. We did a lot of road trips to North Dakota and the DAC. My brother lives up there, so that was a special family thing for us. We would go up there and spend a family weekend really together. That was the best thing. We were very close. My teammates, you guys showing up is awesome. Well, we went golfing today before this, and I forgot how much crap we got into. You know, you start talking about stuff, it's like, geez, where does time go? But Another thing that DSU gave me, along with the basketball career stuff, is I met my wife there, and she's something. Stand up, sweetie, would you please? She played 3 years of softball here at Dakota State. We've got 2 beautiful kids and another one on the way. So that's probably the best thing I got going for me right now. Hopefully, I'm in my parents' position someday watching my kids do something like this. That's special to me that you're here, so thank you. And today is a good day to be a Trojan.
I have to readjust this a little bit here. In the future, we may have to get extensions for those. Okay, our next inductee is Brian Kern. Brian is the first of 3 inductees tonight entering the Hall of Fame as a contributor to DSU athletics. He has given gifts to the DSU Scholarship Fund and the DSU Weight Room Fund. His most recent gift of $5 million to the Trojans Unite campaign will help fund the new Trojan football stadium. This is the largest gift ever made by anyone in the Madison community. Presenting Brian, yes, please do. Presenting Brian will be Rod Lundquist.
I've got to adjust this one. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rod Lindquist, Vice President of Development for McKenda LLC, one of the many entities in what Brian and I referred to as his global operations. 2 nights ago, and I certainly do not want to upstage this event, but I was given a new title, and I want to talk about it for just 1 second. While having a drink at one of the fine local restaurant establishments, waiting for Brian to meet up with me for dinner, I noticed an individual walking up to me beside me, and as she approached, she touched my shoulder. I looked, and she goes, "You're Brian Kern's sidekick, aren't you?" So my name is Rod Lindquist, Vice President of Development and sidekick for McKenda LLC. Oh, and by the way, McKenda is named from Brian's daughters, Mackenzie, Kennedy, and Mirinda. First of all, I want to extend my congratulations to all of this year's Hall of Fame inductees. Your accomplishments are a testimony of what a great institution Dakota State University is. When Brian asked me to introduce him, I was a bit surprised and taken back. I know of more worthy individuals than I who could have been asked. Many of them are here tonight. But after thinking about it and having hung out with most of them, I realized then why I was drafted. Because any one of them could gaffe, say something off prompter they'd all regret, and Brian's public relations team would have to walk it back through the media tomorrow. But the joke's on them. I got paid $10,000 to stay on script. Seriously, if I had to choose one word that best described Brian Kern, it would be cat. That's right, cat. And not for its 9 lives either. God knows Brian outpunted that coverage a long time ago. I chose cat because he always lands on his feet. You see, Brian is a serial entrepreneur. Google says serial entrepreneurs are people who can repeatedly turn creative ideas into successful strategies. Here are some interesting tidbits that you don't know about the Brian you see around town, the sum of which is why he's here today. We both grew up in west central Minnesota, only 11 miles apart. I'm slightly older than him, so we never had an opportunity to meet each other back then. Slightly older. The first we met was 23 years ago, when we met and went into business together and developed the American Hotel here in Madison. Brian's global endeavors include, but are not limited to, 8 hotels located in Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Iowa, a sports bar in Iowa, several multiple housing properties, the largest underground utility contractor in North Dakota, a large residential land development in Nevada, and Rosebud Wood Products right here in Madison, South Dakota. He and I work together daily on real estate development, looking for opportunities like the entrepreneur he is. Brian calls me every morning at 6 a.m., which means I get up at 4:30 to get ready, because when he calls, I've got an hour's worth of time to tell him what's going on from the day before. On Saturday, he lets me sleep in. He calls around 6:30. On Sundays, we talk when the algorithm says we are up or back from church. His tenacity and passion never rests in every facet of his global operations. Brian is a lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way leader. He instills in his many managers, don't come to me with the problem, come to me with a solution. He is self-made. Nothing has been handed to him. He has done it all by himself. He never is uncomfortable nor complacent. I asked Brian once if he remembers back in the day when he rolled the dice and risked everything and felt he was on the edge of losing it all. And before I could even finish the question, he abruptly interrupted me and said with spit and vinegar, I still do every day, every day. He is hardest on himself. He is his biggest critic. Being named last year's Developer of the Year at Best Western Worldwide with over 4,000 hotels places Brian in an elite group that only one is named each year in that organization. I never knew Brian during his DSU days, but over the years, witnessed his loyalty and support of DSU. There is no doubt that Brian has been good for DSU, and there's no doubt that DSU has been good for Brian. Being inducted in the Dakota State University Hall of Fame makes one wonder, what more can he accomplish? I guess we'll have to wait and see. With that being said, it is with great pleasure and honor for me to introduce to you my business partner, my boss man, my close friend, and his sidekick, the cat, Mr. Brian Kern.
Wow. I'm getting up there in years, so I'm going to need some help seeing things. Yeah, well, I guess we'll start off and talk about, first thing I want to do is thank Rod for the unbelievable introduction that I'm absolutely humbled by his words. But I think everybody understands these are crazy times, and I think we can quantify it and verify it by the fact that these are times when the comedians are telling the news and the media is telling the jokes. That was supposed to be a joke, guys. But again, I want to thank Rod for all the kind words in the introduction. I'd like to recognize a few people. Dr. Griffiths, for all she's done for the university since she's been around, I think 7 years, but what a leader. Another inductee, Dr. Tunheim, and his wife, just have been unbelievable for the university and making things happen when they were at their post. So thank you for what you guys have done. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jeff Dittman, a great friend of mine, and our current AD, thanks for all that you do. Hall of Fame committee, and we must talk about some couple people that aren't here, Miles and Lisa Beacom. They're obviously the pillar and the point of making this facility happen. That we're going to talk about in a little bit here, which is the new stadium and the whole complex. But all the coaches as well. You know, a lot of the coaches. We've had a lot of great coaches through the years here on the athletic side of things, be it basketball, football, and, you know, special thanks to all of them. They work a lot of hours for not a lot of pay. So, you know, our hats off to them. Special shout out to my defensive coordinator back in the day, Tom Maurer. He was very inspirational to me and always had me, you know, thinking outside the box. You know, back when I was at Dakota State and played, I came the JUCO way. I played at a junior college right out of high school and played there for 2 years and came here, had a lot of success there. Not so much here. It was the transition times. Dakota State was going from a school, from a different type of a school, an educational school where it was predominantly education, and went the technology route. And I believe it was like 1986 they made the change. So it was turbulent times. So there was not a lot of things going on the athletic side. So we struggled through some years, but really had a great time. And some of my best friends and business partners are people that I went to college with, you know, so, and roommates. So, I mean, the Dakota State has been very, very good to me, you know, for many different reasons and ways. You know, and back in those days, I was not the same guy that I am now, which is I think a proven fact that people can change. You know, like I would say is, back in those days, I was naive beyond my years. You know, and I think it just, you learn how to make change. Back to the football days, probably one of the hardest transitions I ever made was not playing football. How I was going to adjust my life from playing football to going to work. In fact, I believe it to be the second hardest transition I ever made. The first was burying my wife. So, with that being said, I'd like to thank my family for being here. My daughters, my brothers, and yeah, so I'd like to really thank my family and go Trojans.
Congratulations, Brian. Thank you for your tremendous generosity and your support of the many athletes at DSU. Now, at this time, we've talked about the athletic complex. I want to show you the video of our new athletic complex that Brian and so many others of us are helping to build. Construction will begin in the next 2 weeks on the new track and soccer complex, and we'll begin on the football stadium and the event center after the football season's over this year. So let's take a look at the video if you haven't seen it.
It's a new era at DSU. Dakota State University is rising. Dakota State University Athletics are rising to new heights. of performance, of engagement, of fandom. Get ready to experience Dakota State University athletics in a whole new way. You are now entering DSU Trojan territory. An event center, indoor training facility, outdoor sports complex, and shared two-level building concourse will become one consolidated complex, housing existing DSU athletic programs, potential future sports such as soccer and esports, and unique research and academic programs. The design's angular form, modern materials, and interactive spaces will further advance the innovative technology-driven environment at Dakota State University. Students, fans, and alumni will be closer to the action with a rotation of the football field and outdoor track. An outdoor plaza will gather faculty, students, alumni, and the community for special events, tailgating, concerts, and graduation. Light wells connecting walkways and glass partitions will visually and physically connect social spaces. The Hall of Fame celebrates our Trojan history. At night, the angled walls will become projection surfaces. Performance labs, training spaces, player spaces, and concessions will be shared between sports and classrooms, and meeting spaces will become club seating. Academic spaces, such as the Institute on Aging, will focus on improving quality of life for aging populations. A biomechanics lab will use technology to improve injury prevention and sports performance. The East Sports Center will combine technology and sport, so DSU Tech athletes can compete in games of skill with universities across the country. The complex will be available to host local, state, and regional athletic competitions from youth to collegiate levels. More visitors coming to Madison will boost area businesses and organizations. Gathering spaces inside and out, the concourse, exterior patios, tailgating areas, and an outdoor amphitheater will connect generations of Trojans. We are ready. We are rising. Come be a part of a new and exciting era of Dakota State University athletics.
Obviously, we are very excited about starting this project. This is a $100 million plus complex that we will be building. At this time, we have $45 million raised. We will get started on phase one. Hopefully phase 1A, which is the softball and baseball diamonds as well, will be very soon in the next round. Hopefully in the next couple of years, and then we'll go to work on the indoor track and training facility and the arena. So, like I said, we're very excited here, and thanks to people like Brian Kern and Russ Olson with Heartland, and I don't want to forget anybody, but numerous gifts, including, we said Miles and Lisa Beacom. This dream is going to become a reality for us. All right, our third inductee is Carla Sudangay. For many of you, Carla is the first face that you met as you walked into the field house or who your parents met. Carla was our senior secretary at athletics for 34 of the 36 years that she worked at Dakota State, and she was an important part of the daily work as well as the many activities that we also ran. As most of you know, she was also the great chef that got the Trojan Athletic Club going. Presenting Carla will be Kathy Calise.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share just a few thoughts about Carla with you, my former colleague, my forever friend. You know, those of you that work with student athletes know that athletes are made of a lot of different parts. Some of us focus on their academic needs. Others of us concentrate on their anatomical issues. Some people think about their physiological issues, and some people help them develop strategic goals. This evening, we're here to recognize the role that Carla Sudangay fulfilled here at DSU. During the time she was with us, she worked in each of these areas with our athletes, while also fulfilling important behind-the-scenes jobs. Carla played a vital role in athletic eligibility, often working with students to understand what those requirements were, to help them make sure they met them. She also worked in the advanced preparation of food for concession stand, other meal events, and in between all of that, she completed vouchers and travel reimbursement paperwork and on and on and on. Amidst all of these demands, Carla was there. She was a resource, somebody who would listen, who would direct, who could advise. She was considered by so many students and individuals on campus to be a vital and available resource, and she was there when you needed her to be. Her lasting legacy here at DSU goes back to all those parts of our athletes, because Carla helped students to learn how to grow in their minds, their backbones, their hearts, to work to doing their best to meet not only their own personal goals, but also to support those of their teammates. And then she went on to share that ability with our athletic support staff and our coaching staff as well. DSU athletics grew strong during Carla's time here at DSU, and we are grateful. We look forward to continuing to honor her and her work, and we congratulate her in this induction. So let me introduce to you Carla Sudangay.
I need glasses too, Brian. Okay, I told myself I would not cry or be emotional, but this is who I am. First of all, I'd like to say hello to everyone here tonight, and I'd like to thank my family and Jerry for all being here for me. I love you all so very much. And I'd also like to extend a special hello to my big brother Klaus and my sister-in-law Di, who hopefully are watching this via live stream since he had surgery this past Wednesday, and I hope he's feeling better. I'd like to extend my congratulations to the fellow inductees, Brian Kern, Dr. Tunheim, Joe Backus, Jessica VanLoy, and the 2005-2006 Lady Tees basketball team. When Jeff called me back in March to inform me of my induction to the Athletic Hall of Fame, I was truly surprised and honored. My years at DSU flew by quickly. It didn't feel like a job to me, but somewhat of a calling, I guess, that drove me to want to help the student athletes that came to DSU. It was living and experiencing the ups and downs, the wins and the losses, the dreaded grade checks, and the injuries. It was a true pleasure to have helped the many athletes who participated here at DSU and the many coaches, athletic directors, and fellow staff that I had the pleasure to work with. And then there was the Trojan Athletic Club, and all of the fans that I got to meet and come to know, and of course the food prep for the mighty hospitality room. And in all, I'm very, very humbled by this honor. I want to thank you all very much for being here, thanking the Hall of Fame committee, and last but not least, go Trojans!
If you were not a part of the Trojan Athletic Club in the first few years while we were trying to entice people to become a member, we had a hospitality room that basically was Carla's three-course meal. You started out with some kind of soup that was phenomenal, then we had the entree, and then she had the desserts for us. And we got things rolling a lot due to the great food that she offered. So congratulations to Carla. It is my pleasure to introduce our next inductee, Dr. Gerald Toonheim. Now, Dr. Toonheim, and I'll probably never say Jerry, I'm just never going to be comfortable with that. He will always be Dr. Toonheim to me, was president of Dakota State for 17 years, from 1987 to 2004. During that time, Dr. Toonheim was an avid supporter of DSU athletics and of our athletes. He was in most of our ball games and was always asking about how recruiting is going and how the team was doing and what was going on in the team, and very, very engaged with our athletic programs. And it wasn't just collegiate sports. Dr. Toonheim was also supportive of intramural sports. In fact, I was the intramural director when I first came to Dakota State, and we were trying to get that program rolling, and I thought it'd be a great idea to have a faculty team involved in all of our sports. So we had faculty co-ed softball and faculty basketball and faculty flag football. Now, I was truly surprised to find Dr. Toonheim's name on the faculty flag football team. And so one night we were out playing, and Dr. Tunheim caught a pass out on the flats, and he took off down the field, and this freshman, we were playing a freshman team out of Richardson Hall. This freshman went to grab his flags and grabbed his sweatpants. I want you to vision this. The president of the university running down the field, or trying to run down the field. His pants are at about mid-thigh range. The freshman is trying to figure out, do I let this guy go and give up a touchdown, or do I hang on and get the stop and deal with the consequences tomorrow? Well, one kept running and one kept holding on, and finally we got the play stopped. Now, to me, the really funny part of it was he walked back to the huddle, looked at me in the eye, and goes, "Isn't that a penalty?" Now, I do believe that young man was allowed to graduate, so he took it quite well. But again, that was Dr. Toonheim's commitment to intramurals, commitment to athletics, and commitment to fun. Dr. Toonheim was also a president who approved the first wellness center program on campus. And again, those of you, we go back a ways, but the first wellness center was actually a creation of Dr. Toonheim's and Judy's, and it was down in the basement of Zimmerman Hall where our current weight room is. And I don't know, I think we had 3 or 4 racks down there, and I think we had a couple of aerobic machines, and it was pretty minimal, but it was the start of the birth of our current community center. Besides supporting health, fitness, and athletics, he was also a scholarship supporter. Dr. Toonheim began the Friends Garden, I got to read this one here because it's long, Friends Garden Co-op Endowed Scholarship for Women's Basketball. Now, what this was Dr. Toonheim loved to garden. And so he came up with this idea that he could combine gardening along with fundraising. So he got his garden and he started selling carrots and peas and so forth as a fundraiser in the summertime for us. Well, it took a couple of years, and pretty soon that little garden project became like a 5-acre mass production that I think he spent about 12 hours a day out in there. And if you're wondering why the women's basketball got the money, it's because we came out and we helped with the tilling and the harvesting of it and so forth. I'm still trying to figure out how I always got stuck picking beans, because if you guys don't know bean picking, it's the worst job in the garden, but that seemed to always be my job. But that little project grew into a $10,000 a year scholarship program for DSU women's basketball. So thank you, Dr. Tunheim, for that. And It was really a great time in the sense of we had just done the mission change, and Dr. Toonheim was the force that drove us into the next generation. And there were some very lean times at those times, and there was some tough times, but he was there for all of the academic and the athletic programs, and he was a tremendous leader for us. So ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gerald Toonheim. When he asked me to do the introduction speech, he did say, "Do you really have to tell that intramural speech, or that intramural story?" And I said, "I have to."
Well, the true story is I forgot about it. And he mentioned it in the call when he told me I had been chosen to be an inductee to the Hall of Fame. It was one of my really great memories after he told me, because but I have so many great memories about Dakota State, and I'd like to share just a few of them. The first one was the name change. You know, a lot of you forget we were Dakota State College when Brian came, right? Yeah. And Northern and Black Hills were going to change their name to a university, and they were going to leave Dakota State as a college. Well, that would have set us in a different category, and it was the biggest political battle, which I thought it should be an obvious thing to do, because Dakota State was as much of a university as Northern or Black Hills. Well, Jerry Lammers, if you remember him, some of you, he was Speaker of the House, and he said, well, if Dakota State isn't going to be a university, then nobody's going to get through the State Affairs Committee. He was chair of the State Affairs Committee, and he said, so we got it, and that was a big one. The other one, another one I'd like to share is the center. We were named the Center of Excellence in Computer Security for Banking by the NSF, or NF, the National Security Agency. And I knew that was going to be a big one. And thanks to Dr. Griffiths, she has made it big, 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 big. It is fantastic what you've done with that. But, you know, some of my really fondest memories are with athletics. I remember going down to the Final Four basketball tournament in Texas. We went to the Final Four. We beat the #1 seed. And then our point guard had an appendicitis attack, and he was out. And we missed I still think we should have, we could have won the Nationals if that year. But I spent several days with the team, staying in the same motel, and it was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. But even the fondest times I had with the girls' basketball teams that went year after year to the national tournament in Sioux City. That was great, and it started me on the track of being a fan of the women's basketball. And when they came out to help me with the garden, and I got to know them, and one of them even babysat our house for the summer when or in the winter when we left for Florida. So it really these were the kind of things I missed when I retired, is the student interactions. And by the way, I would have had a touchdown. It was illegal to grab on and stop you. He missed the flag, so. Now you remember that. Finally, I'd like to give a little pitch, maybe. I was given a tour of the campus the other day, and I went through the security building, and all of the changes on this campus, and it is a fantastic change. Now, I retired in 2004, and since then, this university has made so much progress. And I give Dr. Griffiths a lot of credit in that regard, and her team. Obviously, presidents don't do things themselves. They provide the leadership and the other people do the work, right? But I think there's something for all of us to do that gained something from Dakota State. Dakota State was part of my life. It gave me a great opportunity, and we need to all give back what we can. We need to follow Brian's example, Miles Beacom. Now, they may be able to give more, but all of us need to support Dr. Griffiths in making Dakota State move to that next level. And I will, if I win the lottery, she would, by the way. But in summary, I just say, go Trojans. Thank you. Thank you very much.
See, I told you, he wanted a penalty after that play because he was going to score. Thank you, Dr. Toonheim. Our fifth inductee is Jessica VanLoy. Jessica was an outstanding basketball player at Dakota State University from 2004 to 2008. She was one of the best passers to ever play for the Lady Tees, and she had one of the highest basketball IQs I've ever coached. She was a very important part of our 3 conference titles and our 3 trips to the NAIA National Basketball Championships in 2006 to 2008. Presenting Jess is her father and her high school coach, John VanLoy.
Thanks, Jeff. Dr. Griffith, newly inducted members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John VanLoy, and I'm honored to have been chosen to introduce my daughter, Jessica. I am sure it's a dream of all athletes to someday be inducted into the Hall of Fame. For some athletes, today, that dream comes true. I can't count the number of games that my wife Susie and I watched over the years between Jess herself and her brothers Drew and Tom. It all started back in Wabasco, Minnesota at St. Anne's Grade School, where the girls and the boys played on the same team. Needless to say, Jessica held her own at that time also. To the next level of junior high in Wabasco High School. Jess is still the only athlete from Wabasco High School to play and win with 2 state tournament teams, fast pitch softball and girls basketball. Then on to college at Dakota State University in Madison, South Dakota with the Lady Tees. Jess grew up watching her brothers and neighbors play on our hoop patio right outside our kitchen window. She would sit on the steps and watch the boys, 4 to 6 guys out there banging into one another, and she would ask if she could play. Well, it was a pretty rough game, you know, it was no blood, no foul kind of thing. And they would say, well, not quite yet. Wasn't long, and she would ask again if she could play. When the boys were tired and about out of gas, that's when she could play. If I had to pick a couple games that I enjoyed most, one would be the game against UND, where the opposing coach, the Lady Tees had a couple of turnovers, and while the opposing coach, he called a timeout, And the girls were on their way to the bench, and he shouted, "Number 40 is not on our team. Don't throw her the ball." Another one probably was the SMSU Marshall game. Jess had one of her cousins playing on that game, or on that team. And she was a senior at the time, and she had some steals again, and she picked an inbound pass and got a layup. And the SMSU coach called the timeout again, and he said, "Number 40 is schooling us." Do all basketball coaches yell? Not me. Anyway, the radio announcer knew Jess was from Obasso at the time, and Marshall's only 30 minutes away from Marshall. And he made a comment on the radio as to why Jessica wasn't recruited to play for SMSU. I'll get to Coach Dittman after a little bit. I'll never forget when the Lady Tees qualified for Jessica's first national tournament. She called excitedly and told us about it and asked if we would come. Of course, we would come. Where's it going to be? Florida, Nashville, Kentucky, maybe? Susie and I were talking about a vacation. So I said, "Where's it going to be held?" She said, "Sioux City, Iowa." I said, "Iowa? Hell, we didn't even have to stay the night. We could drive home." That brings me to Coach Dittman. He maybe drove to Obasso more times than we drove to Madison. I don't know how much he saw Jess play basketball, but I can assure you he was at a lot of fast-pitch softball games. I think he was making sure she didn't forget about DSU, or maybe he was just making sure nobody else was around to recruit her. Jess never liked practice much, but give her the game ball. Give her the game ball, and when the buzzer sounded, that's when the true athlete came out. Never mind her stats, she didn't care much about them. She cared about winning. She cared about her team and about her teammates. She cared about her family. She cared about loyalty, and it showed. But what was really noteworthy about Jess was her heart. She inspired others with her competitive spirit. She exudes confidence and transmitted that quality to her teammates. She made others around her better. Today, ladies and gentlemen, there is no place that I would rather be than right here, right now. It's with a special sense of pride for me to introduce the newest inductee into the Dakota State University Athletic Hall of Fame, Jessica VanLoy.
Well, I said, depending on how long Dad's speech was, that's how long mine was going to be. So he left me 5 minutes. I'm going to do my best. I'd like to start by saying what an honor it is to be inducted, how thankful I am to have had the opportunity to play at Dakota State as a Lady T. Special thank you to my family, Mom and Dad in particular. You came to a lot of games. You put a lot of miles on. You were always there. I cannot thank you enough for everything that you've taught me on and off and everything that we've been through. I love you guys so much. When Coach texted me, I go, sorry kids, I said shit. What did I do? Did I miss class? Did I not turn in something? What happened? Yes, this is still my number. He then says, do you have a minute to talk? Oh God, it was bad. But in all honesty, it was such an ironic timing. I had just found some old tapes that my wife and I had got done watching, and one of them happened to be the 2005-2006 Hastings National Tournament game. We got done watching the game. Jess goes, "You were good?" The film was grainy. It wasn't our fault. Some of the Dakota State ones, the filmers were more interested in the boys' game to follow, who was playing. Thanks, guys. All of a sudden, the film stops here and then it continues to go. But, by the way, I brought the tapes. Nicole, I got them for you, okay? You got this. But in 2004, we played in a holiday tournament. I was playing against Jill. Maria's team was there. We had played stuff earlier in the year. They were all signed already, and it was shortly after that when Coach started recruiting me. Every Wednesday, phone call. Most games, either him or Tom made it to the games. And then softball games. And it was finally a cold softball game in May. Again, May. We graduated in June. Still a procrastinator. Coach was there and it was freezing, and Dad, my high school coach, at the end of the game goes, "Either put him out of his misery or sign." And it was that day that I decided to sign to become a Lady T. Best decision. Coming in as a freshman, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to get going, show off my basketball skills, feeling real good. We get to the first week of practice and we have this decathlon. You all know. And so it's, the mile run, sprints, et cetera, and one of the skills was push-ups. Practice was never my gig. Again, I think I did 10 and I stopped. I'm pretty sure Angie did like 80. It was a ridiculous number. I did 10, I was like, no, I'm good. And then at the end of preseason, we had to do it again, and we had to show improvement. I think at the end of my senior year, I did 15. Improvement. Basketball was a long season, so I didn't get to spend a lot of time on the softball preseason side of things, but when I did get there, it was a well worth wait. There was one particular game, we were here in Madison. We were getting our butts kicked, I'm gonna be honest. And the other team was still bunting, still stealing, taking extra bases, kind of a diss against the softball team, that's a no-go once you get up by so many runs. And our coach at the time, Pro Rock, was trying to give the signal for our pitcher to hit the next girl. Our pitcher wouldn't do it. We finally get out of the inning, he brings us in, we're in the huddle, and he's like, "Can anybody go in and pitch and hit this next girl?" I was like, "I got you, I can do this, I can do this." So I go and warm up, I get about 3, 4, maybe 5 pitches in behind the dugout. Our inning's over, we go out to the mound. Ump's like, "You need any warm-up pitches?" I'm like, "Nope." I don't. Poor girl comes into the batter's box, hit her right in the middle of the back. One pitch. Next girl, also. Same thing. They stopped bunting. During this national tournament year, 2005-2006, we were the last at-large bid team to make it. So we lost in our conference tournament and then had to watch this other team win in order for us to get in. When that happened, we're sitting around our M275s, watching the game, and this team won that we needed to have win. That feeling of excitement and the nerves and the opportunity that we had to make our mark is something that I'll never forget. And like Dad had said, having an opportunity to travel to a national tournament, who wouldn't want to go to Sioux City, Iowa? You would think Coach would have splurged, got us a nice big coach bus, 76 people. No, the smallest people mover we had. It did not have enough seats on the bus for our entire team. I am not kidding you. Folding chairs were brought on this bus for our team. If Brad, our trainer, wouldn't have been able to drive it, he wouldn't have made it. It was no joke. You would have thought that would have been the worst, but we're pulling into close to the hotel, and the back latch of the bus breaks open, and we had to grab it so the bags didn't fall out. Nothing but the best for our tournament runs. There's so many more memories that I have and could go through, but some little tidbits. Working at Jubilee, having cheap grocery bills, having the basketball team sit behind me in center field during the softball games, the hungry heifer, Plex 13, Halloween dances, watching Rent, One Tree Hill, The Game of Life, Green Machine, and Aftershock. For a bunch of small-town athletes from Minnesota, South Dakota, and Nebraska, we sure came together to play some good ball. We might not have always gotten along, but there was one truth that stood above all other things. We wanted to win, and win we did. Didn't matter how we did it, who scored, who got the most rebounds, who got the assist. The fight that this team and the coaches had, that I had the privilege to play with and for, was more than I could have ever asked for. So thank you all for making me the player that I turned out to be, and for the friendships and memories that will last forever. Now it's your turn. That wasn't too bad, right?
I don't remember everything the way you remember it, but. See David Moe. I sent them out on a 50-passenger bus with only 14 people this year to Billings, and so things have changed. I've learned, I guess. No, we kind of liked it lean and mean, and it sort of fit our personality back in those days. I think with that speech, you can realize that Jess and I had numerous conversations over her 4 years. All of them interesting, but all of them a lot of fun. Tonight we're going to induct the 2005-2006 Lady T's women's basketball team that won the Dakota Athletic Conference regular season title and finished the year ranked number 18 in the country. That team advanced to the Elite Eight round of the National Basketball Tournament before losing to eventual champion Hastings College. As I call your name, will you come up on stage, and we have some things for you. And Jenny, are you? Okay, Jenny's going to help us with that. So, hang on a second here. I lost my page in the book. Okay, so here we go. Tricia Bolt. Angela Carr. Stacy Dunclow. You guys stay up here. You guys stay up here. Marie Gangler. Nicole Garretts. Angie Gottsleben. Jill Hansen. Steph Kaup. Now, our lone senior on the team, Amber Melvin, is not with us tonight. Son? Son was getting confirmed today, so couldn't make it. And Sarah Nelson is also not able to join us. She is moving from Montana to Washington, D.C. So we'll continue here. Lake and Nedved. Casey Simpson. Laura Tews. And Jessica VanLoy. On our coaching staff was a student assistant, Matthew Trotter, Jenny Brown, full-time assistant, Judy Dittman, and I was the head coach. All right, so we can just kind of curl around a little bit now if we need a little bit of room. I'm going to just bring up a couple of things with this group, and then we will continue at Stadium later on and talk about some more things to see if I remember them completely different than you remember them. I had the pleasure of recruiting and coaching this group of exceptional athletes, and I say exceptional athletes, as you can tell. Most of them are very tall, most of them are very long, and we played a hellacious 2-3 zone defense. And I say hellacious, I can't tell you how many times male coaches came in after watching our teams in the doubleheader and said, "How do you run that dang zone?" And I said, "I will never tell you." This was a mentally tough group of people, and I say that we did things the hard way. Jess kind of jokes about it, but we really put every obstacle we could in front of them, and they accepted every single one of them and came back for more. And when I say things like that, we ended up playing 3 Division III teams, 1 Division II team. We played 5 teams that were ranked in the top 10 in the country. We played 3 more that were in the top 20, and we got up and we practiced at 5 o'clock pretty dang regularly. And that's tough on a team over a 5-month season. That's a grind, and these guys just kept coming back to work every day, accepting every challenge that we put in front of them, never complained about the schedule, never complained about anything. They just came to work, and it was really a pleasure to coach this group for the 4 years that the core group was with us and through all of their careers. When we got ready, when we got to the end of the season, I'm going to just talk about one, and again, my memories of things are probably a little bit different than theirs. I'm going to concede the fact that I may not remember things quite as accurately as I used to, but there's one game to me that really stood out that year, and there was a ton of great games. But we had Northwestern coming into town, and Northwestern was led by Deb Remerdy, who ended up being the all-time greatest scorer in the history of the NAIA with about 4,500 points in her 4-year career. She was a Division I athlete, recruited at Iowa, turned around and came back to Northwestern to play her ball. They came in that night. They were a great ball club. We felt we were a great team, but I wasn't sure we were quite at that level yet because we were very young. And I didn't know if we were ready to take on that squad. And we went nose to nose with them. We went all game long. We did a tremendous job on Remerdy. But in the end, with about a minute left, she hit that stinking left baseline jumper that we said we can never let her have that shot, but she hit it over a 6-1 great defensive end, and you just had to give them credit for it. But when that game was over with, and it was really fun because the gym was packed, and it was electric, and I mean, our students were really into the ball game, and I think of all the games that I've coached at Dakota State, that was one of the more fun games, the more fun environments that we ever got to play in. And we knew at that point we were pretty dang good. And we knew we could compete with anybody. And that team turned around and won the national title the next year after that. So it was a great milestone for us, not because we didn't win the ball game, but just we were ready. The season was fun. The season, we worked hard at it. We had a couple of 5-game winning streaks. We had a 4-game winning streak in it. But when we got down to the end, we dropped our last 2 ball games of the season, and then we got beat in the semifinals of the conference tournament. So our seed which would have been higher, ended up putting us in this bracket that was probably the toughest bracket in the national tournament. We were going to open up with Shawnee State, who was 25-7, and they were ranked 10th in the country. And we had a great battle with them all game long. We really played well. We had 4 players in double figures that ball game, and when it was over with, we ended up with a 4-point win, and we moved on to the Sweet 16 round. Now, in the Sweet 16 round, we ran into Tabor University out of Kansas, who was ranked number 4 in the country. And Tabor had this 6-1 post player transfer out of Boston College. So they had a Division I transfer. They were a very good ball team. I don't remember their record, but I think it was over 30 wins when we ended up playing them. And we just beat the pudding out of them. I mean, it was not a ball game. We took it to them. We took it to them every which way there was. It still got a little bit close at the end, though. And I remember, again, there was some great plays. Amber hit a couple of jumpers and had an assist to Stacy that really ended up icing the game. We ended up winning it by almost 10 points. So, really, really, did I remember that right?
That's right.
That's what I thought. Yell at you. I never yelled at you guys. And then that put us in the Elite Eight round with Hastings College. And Hastings ended up winning the national tournament that year. We had a great game with them. Their full court pressure just wore us down a little bit. We'd had 2 tough games before that. And Jess was our primary ball handler, and I think they started guarding her about 10 minutes after our bus arrived at Tyson Center. And I still remember it was a very low-scoring game. It was the lowest point total that Hastings scored in the tournament. It was the closest game that anyone ever played to them in the tournament. And I just felt like if we could have gotten the ball up the floor a little sooner, because we'd get it up there and there'd only be about 12 seconds left on the shot clock, if we could have even ran one reversal with the height that we had and with our inside dominance, we would have beaten that team that day. But credit to them, they had a great defensive game plan against us, and they ended up winning the game. Now, we did come back and exact a little bit of revenge. We opened the season with them the next year. They were the number 1 team in the country, and we beat them by 4 in the opener of the season. So, dang Broncos, I would have liked the first game and let them have that second game, but it turned out all right. Now, again, this team, I think, exceeded all of our expectations. As Jess said, they were a team that really came together. We played hard. I coached them hard. I'm sure, if you visit with them a little bit, they might tell some stories about me saying some things to them at times or whatever. Please accept my apology for anything I might have said that could be misconstrued. I was just simply trying to motivate you. But this was a group that really accepted coaching well. And that was what was really special about them is I did get after them hard. I coached kind of Bobby Knight old school on them, and they just kept coming back to work every day. And I've had a lot of great teams, and I've never been more proud of a team than what I am of this squad and all they did and all the success they had. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 2005-2006 Lady Tees inductees into the DSU Athletics Hall of Fame. Thanks, ladies. All right. That will be it, and we'll wrap it up. And we'll go to the table. My ball's under the table.
Thank you.
We celebrated a lot of success of the past tonight, and I want to talk a little bit about our recent success. For 2 of the last 3 years, Dakota State has won the North Star Commissioner's Cup. Now what this is, it is an award system based on the finish of each of our sports in the conference. This year, we had 4 conferences with 13 sports, and frankly, one of those sports, esports, does not have conference competition. We ended up with 4 conference championships, 3 second-place finishes, and 3 first-place finishes. So we were able to beat Bellevue 84.75 points to 77. So it was a dominant performance by our teams this year. And like I said, it's the second time in 3 years we've won this award. This goes a lot to the contributions and to the support that all of you have given to us. So as an athletic department, we want to say thank you. We want to say thank you for every time that you made a gift to the scholarship program. We want to say thank you if you became a member of the Trojan Athletic Club. We want to say thank you if you came to a ball game and bought a ticket. That money is all used in recruiting, which helps us go out and get the best and the brightest of our local and regional athletes. Now, let's talk about the future. You've seen the athletic master plan, which focuses on growth. And in the last 4 years, we have increased the student athlete enrollment from 215 to 470 student athletes. That's a big jump in student athletes at the university. And we've done it in a facility that was built 60 years ago for the 75 student athletes that DSU had at the time. Ultimately, we will have over 600 student athletes competing for Dakota State. And we'll do this through the continued development of our JV programs, through increased scholarships for our athletes, through improved facilities to recruit, and the addition of new sports programs like men's and women's soccer, men's and women's golf, and future e-sport teams like drone racing. At Dakota State, esports are important bridges between traditional athletics and technology. Obviously, I'm very excited about the future of DSU athletics. And imagine the excitement of our athletes as they consider the academic programs that we have to offer and the facilities that they will train and compete in. I hope you will all be a part of that. I hope you will all continue to be Trojans forever. And I hope you'll come back and watch ball games, watch basketball games, football, baseball. We're going to have a great complex to play in. Now, we're going to wrap up a little bit here. I want to introduce right now the Hall of Fame committee who made these selections and are a big part of all that we do. I'm not sure they're here, but if you're here, please stand. Dick Fawbush is the alumni representing the 1970s. Julie Figan Price, representative of the 1980s. Don Gaffney Dittman, representative for the 1990s. Cassie Foster Teal, 2000 representative. And Coach Anthony Dreeland, our 2010 representative. I don't think they saw you, Coach. You have to stand. All right. Now, a big thank you to Nick Hunnemer, our sports information director. Nick is the one who goes and does all the work for us. A big thank you to Jennifer Walls, who puts on, who is the lead person in charge of developing this event and works with us as well. So please give Jenny a nice round. I'm going to introduce you to our coaches. Baseball coach, Darian Hardy. I'm not sure if they're here, but if you're here, please stand. Our cross-country and track and field coach, Anthony Dreeland. Our esports coach, Andy Rowland. Our football coach, Josh Anderson. Volleyball coach, Amy Wienhoff. Brought her own cheering section. Our men's basketball coach, Gary Garner. Softball coach, Rachel Fricky. And our women's basketball coach, David Moe. All right, a few more thank yous here. Donna Fawbush and Jenny, who did all of the setup, all of the centerpieces, everything that we have here. Please give them a nice round of applause. Our production center, who helped with all of the print materials, all of the big posters over there and so forth. Please give them a nice round. And I'm going to say this again, Nick Hunnemer, those of you guys who've been around Nick, he works tirelessly. He works every night, all night, Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays when we have ball games. We can't seem to find a way to make the guy tired. So thank you, Nick, for all you do. All right, now, when we finish here in just a couple of minutes, we would like all of our inductees over here. We're going to take some pictures of individually, collectively, and as the team. So please don't get into too much conversations. Let's right away get over and get the pictures taken. Then for the individual inductees, I need you to go out into the lobby, right? Okay, out in the lobby, and we're going to do a quick interview that we're going to put on the internet to just talk a little bit about how what this night means to you. So as soon as you finish the pictures, let's get you out there, and Coach Mo is going to conduct the interviews out there. Following those things, we are meeting down at the stadium for a post-induction ceremony. If you do not have the drink ticket that I have for you, the Trojan Athletic Club is buying the first drink on behalf of them and to show their support for all of you. So please come down and join us. And again, listen to Jess tell stories that are somewhat accurate but not totally accurate. Second round too. I don't know. See, if we go second round, then you guys are going to want a nicer bus the next time we go someplace. And all right, these individual athletes, this team, and these contributors represent some of the best of DSU. Looking at their many achievements, we're fortunate to have these people become athletes for DSU and become graduates of DSU. And we can't thank them enough for the characteristics that they have embodied as athletes and as students at DSU. They work hard, they were dedicated, and they were disciplined, and they were leaders on and off the court. To all of our inductees, congratulations and welcome to the DSU Athletics Hall of Fame. Good night, everyone. All right, pictures, please.